I'm Malaysia, and this is my very janky space. I'm going to show you how I cut open soda cans. There's plenty of videos online for how to do this, but just in case you were wondering, this is how I personally do it. I usually rinse my cans out after we use them, but not always. But there's almost always a little bit of liquid left in them, so a couple of rags will be helpful here. The first thing I usually do is remove this. It's very useful. It's thick. It takes paint really well. It's got a great shape. You can do a lot of stuff with these. So I usually take those off first. It's just easier. You can do this several ways. You can use a can opener. You put the blade of the can opener right there, lock it down, and it comes off pretty easy, but it tends to leave slightly scalloped and rough edges where you end up having to use sandpaper to smooth the edges. And I just don't have the patience for that. Speaking of sanding, the easiest way I found to get these off is to use a belt sander. If you've got the strength to do it, hold the belt sander in your hand, turn it on, and rotate the can as you do this, but you put it against the sanding surface. Rotate it around a little bit, let the sander do the work, and it will sand off the edge right here, and these will just pop right off, and it's a pretty smooth edge. It's pretty nice. The other way I do it is I use these. So far, this is the best pair of snips I have for cutting metal. I got these on Amazon. They were cheap. I'm overdue for a new pair. I've kind of worn the blades out on these, but it's still the best thing I have. I've got these shears or snips. They're supposed to be good for cutting metal. I don't like them. One thing is they've got, let's see, it's on the other side. They've got this serrated edge. That serrated edge leaves a serrated edge on your metal. I don't like that. Plus they're just cumbersome. They're not easy to use. They don't feel good on my hand. I don't like them. There are a couple ways you can remove this with these. My favorite way is to get in here with the snips and try and get a bite. Just get a bite of that right there. See how I just, actually you can't see probably. Once you get a bite and get a little bit of that metal off, right there, it's not terribly difficult to go around the entire edge of this thing and cut that off. Clearly it didn't do it perfectly. Anyway, you can go around, get that off. Ah, that's a good sound. And you're left with this. Now you can take a good pair of sacrificial scissors, which I bought these to be my sacrificial scissors. These Westcott titanium, bleh, whatever. They don't work as well as the old craft scissors I use. They're too hard to use. They don't close well. I've got arthritis and some other issues that make this just doesn't work. And naturally I don't have those other scissors here, but these work just fine. You can go across and basically deburr, clean this up, smooth it up. And if you're going to paint these, unless an edge is really sharp, you really don't need to sand these. They're a pain to sand. I don't like to do it. I've noticed even if the edge is a little sharp, if I spray paint them, it dulls the edge enough. The paint coats the edges so they're not deadly. And if it's going to be for yard bling, if it's a little sharp, that's okay. I mean, you don't want it sharp enough to cut someone just brushing their arm, but if I'd have to work to cut myself with this. I could. But it's pretty smooth. It's not bad. If I was doing this for jewelry, I would definitely take some coarse sandpaper and smooth those edges. But that right there, pretty good for almost everything I'm doing with them for my yard bling. And I know it looks imperfect and not perfectly level on the edges, but once you put paint on there and hang these, it's honestly not noticeable. Now all these little fine pieces of tin or aluminum you're cutting off, these are problematic. So mind where you cut this stuff. It gets in your socks, it gets in your shoes, it will pierce your skin. It doesn't feel good. In my office, I tend to let this stuff fly everywhere and just try to vacuum it up, but I also end up with a lot of little pieces in my socks. So, you know, best to have a nice tray or something underneath to help catch all those little pieces. Okay, so you've got that off. Save these if you want. I don't bother, but I don't know. Whatever, that's your deal. I've got these. And I mean, you can use a razor, but this is just as easy. This cuts so easy. I'll make a little slit there. Make a slit here. And around we go. A good pair of scissors would be easier for this. Well, not would be, they are. A good pair of sacrificial scissors is easier for this. Not these. Alright, so once you've cut one end off, you can smooth this before you finish it. Before you cut off the other end. You can smooth it now. It's actually a little bit easier than cutting it later. It's up to you, of course. Just don't want any burrs, any little bits that are going to catch on your stuff when you're working, or on your skin for that matter. Okay, cutting this end off. And again, see, that's pretty rough. So I'm just going to clean that up. Okay. And then, there we go. I just got myself. That's funny. Okay. How to straighten these. It's not a big deal. A lot of different ways to do it. Everybody's got their system. I personally prefer to just use a cheap ruler. I find that easiest. And I don't have a cheap ruler, so I shall acquire one. Naturally, I don't have a cheap ruler handy. I don't need a cheap ruler handy. I just need this. It's just a paint stick. I prefer to use a cheap plastic or wood ruler for this particular part. Using a little bit of pressure, pushing this wood down, just pull up on the metal. Nearly there already. Let's see what happens if I do it flat. kind of a pain. I think one more swipe might have us. Okay, I was wrong. Play with it, figure it out. You'll find what works best for you. You might find the table edge works best for you. You might find just using an iron. I don't know. Whatever works for you is fine. And you don't even have to straighten them out if you don't want to. I find them a little bit easier to work with when they're flatter. They don't have to be perfect. But it cuts down on cutting yourself when it's not like trying to wrap back up on your hand. Okay, so I did want to show you another way to get the bottoms out if you don't have the right scissors to cut that piece off. Because that's, I don't know, you just have to have the right scissors to do that, or the right snips. So another way you can do it is to go ahead and remove the bottom of your can. And with a good pair of scissors or snips, instead of doing what I suggested, you can do it this way. Cut off a piece, get a piece out of your way. So once you've got a piece out of your way, you can either go in there like this and start cutting it, which clearly isn't working, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, cut these edges off. See, it's getting wonky. It got stuck there. Time for some new ones. These were like, oh gosh. I'll put a link in the description, but I think they were like $15 for this. And it came with a curved pair for snipping stems on plants. The curved pair I couldn't use. These were pretty awesome though. Okay, so this looks like a hot mess right now, but you just go in just like before and you just clean it up. If I can, I believe the craft scissors I use that work pretty good on this metal. I believe I got them on Amazon several years ago. If they're still selling the same ones, I'll definitely put a link in the description because I do like those scissors on this metal. It works pretty good. So I don't think it works for, I don't think it works for doing this. But for everything else, cutting the aluminum cans, it works for well. So anyway, I've cleaned that up a bit. And I probably need to trim it a little bit better. But it's pretty much good to go. I've seen people take these, I guess if you cut them both just right, you can glue them together with like metallic tape or B6000 anyway, and make sort of these big giant seed bead looking things. I haven't done that. What I have done is, one moment, because I got it right here. Okay, you don't have to wait for this. Hold on. So what I've done is once I've painted them, I'll put two together and then hang a little bit, a little extra piece in there. So when it hangs on your porch, it just clacks a little more. Makes a little extra noise. And if you make this piece long enough, of course you can hang something below it. And I've done that too. So I kind of like that. Alright, so that is how I cut up aluminum cans. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some of that useful. And I guess that's it.